Alrighty guys, this video is overdue. Like, let's be real, this video's been overdue. So, apparently about 3 months ago from the time that I'm currently recording this video, a small little game dropped known as Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, not to say that that game was completely overshadowed by an announcement that came about, I think it was 2 or 3 months later, known as Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but that game did come out. A lot of people played it, a lot of people liked it, some people disliked it, I don't know how, and some people were kind of confused. Alright, it was a big game coming off of, the only other real Pokemon game at the time besides Let's Go that had been on the, obviously the Switch, was Pokemon Gen 8, which a huge portion of the fan base hated, and a huge portion of the fan base loved it. It was a love-hate relationship, as you guys could say, and nothing is more confusing than the Pokemon fan base when it comes to Gen 8. So it had a lot to live up to. It had a lot to live up to the fact that it wasn't traditional in the remake, such as Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but it was a completely brand new genre that could be able to bring in new people to the Pokemon series, as well as hopefully be able to hold over the longtime fans that were not satisfied with the way how Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl ended up being because of how faithful they were to the original Diamond Pearl. So yeah, at the end of the day, this video should have came out a long time ago because Pokemon Legends Arceus is great, and there's a lot of things that are amazing about it, and I'm going to be talking about that today, but there was also a few problems with it. Definitely it should be highlighted, and we can be definitely looking forward to that could help us explain the future of Pokemon going into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or potentially going into another Pokemon Legends game. Either way, we're going to be talking about in today's video. Remember, guys, smash that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1K subscribers, and remember to also go ahead and hit the like button, because that helps out a lot, too. So yeah, without further ado, Pokemon Legends Arceus is good, but here are the problems with it. Alrighty, so first off, we're going to be starting off with the pros of Legends Arceus, which I want to go ahead and purposely state at the start of this video. Pokemon Legends Arceus, in my personal opinion, is the best Pokemon game to come out since Black and White. That is my genuine, honest opinion. I think this game has so many pros to it, so many things that revolutionize Pokemon that Gen 8 should have been doing, realistically, and things that honestly should be moved into mainline Pokemon games as a staple. Now, there was obviously some things that weren't amazing, and some things that people completely got turned off in the game by, even though there was systems that, kind of disrupted that. But we're going to go ahead here and start off with the pros, because I want to start off positive in this video. We don't want to start off with the negatives. I want to start off with the positives. So first off, we're going to be talking about the story. So first off, the story of Legends Arceus, most people say, is either they love it or they hate it. Either way, I had to say, this is a story that is great. I had to say, this story is one of the most simple mainline stories within Pokemon we've seen in a while, but just because of the twists, the turns, the characters, and the atmosphere, I think the atmosphere of the game itself sets up the story to be the best part about it. It honestly gives it so much for our first playthrough. Now, when it does come down to replaying the story, I could see how some people could say it's lackluster, how you could either, speed through it or whatever else, but overall, we are going to be talking about a lot of the stuff that happens within the story. I'm going to be explaining some stuff, so this is going to get into spoiler territory. Going to go ahead, leave a timestamp in the description as well as in the pinned comment. You guys can use that timestamp right there to skip the spoilers. I'm going to tell you that right now, so go ahead, and if you want to skip spoilers and not hear anything about the spoilers, play the game yourself, which, again, the game has been out for, at this point, 4 months, technically, really 3. So yeah, if you guys have not played it, go ahead and use those timestamps down there to go ahead and skip that. But yeah, so moving right along, we're going to be here talking about a little bit of the spoilers and things that I think the game did great. I think a lot of the story that was set up with the way how the ending especially, the ending is one of the best endings within any Pokemon game I've ever played. And I want to jump straight to the ending because that's probably the main focal point of the game, that Volo, a traveling companion who you meet at the beginning of the game. He was your first actual trainer battle that you had, technically, against another person with his Togepi. And, he was Cynthia's ancestor, essentially. So you always knew that he was going to end up being this great figure, this great guy. But what he ends up actually doing is, so completely different from Cynthia as a character. And the way how his fight plays out, where he essentially has Cynthia's team with an Arcanine, obviously, because, they didn't have, I think, all of what could have been Cynthia's team at the time. and they essentially then gave him another second boss battle part of having Giratina and then having normal Giratina and then giving him his origin form after that, and him being an insane level was literally one of the hardest and coolest boss fights in all of Pokemon. I had to say, I almost lost this boss fight. I had 2 legendaries on my team, my final team. I had like Regigigas, Palkia, Garchomp, like my starter, which was Decidueye because I chose Decidueye for this game, and like a bunch of other ones. All were pretty high level, weren't over leveled for this, but definitely weren't under leveled, and he was still whooping my butt. Like, I only won because of items. Without items, he probably would have stomped me, and he would have stomped me maybe 2 or 3 times before I could have actually beat him. And that's hard to say because I haven't had a challenge like that in Pokemon in years. In actual years. And so I had to say, like, just the pure challenge and the pure change in his demeanor and his story, like, was it predictable? Kind of, yes. We all knew because he's Cynthia's ancestor he was going to be something great. But did we think he was going to end up being this complain, bad shit, crazy dude at the end of the game? I don't think so. I think that was, I don't think that was super incentivized. It was kind of incentivized that he would be something sort of like that, but I don't think the way how it actually ended up being was how he actually wanted it to play out. So, like, it was interesting and it was crazy, and I had to give the game that. It really did change that. Also, another point in the game, kind of going from the end straight back to the beginning, per se, was you getting kicked out of the village. You being essentially the cause of all these space-time distortions that are getting messed up and are getting, uncured and messing around with the Guardian Pokemon and everything. It was like, wow, like, if they really suspected you think they would have kicked you out of the village earlier? Like, why do they trust you in the first place, right? And I do feel like that comes out of nowhere, that they just kick you out and then they literally leave you to just be like, here's this one little area you can go to, here's what you got to do to be able to go try to help and go get that back. And then obviously, Professor Rowan's ancestor as well, it's just so freaking awesome. I just had to say, like, just with his interactions with you and him not trusting you to him eventually coming to trust you, and then you going up to the top of Mount Pillar or Spear Pillar, sorry, and then you eventually like literally destroying the ruins, essentially making the ruins for the like future Diamond and Pearl games. You actually go up there and the ruins are destroyed and they're the exact same. So freaking amazing. I just had to say that the game is so amazing. Like, dude, that whole thing of just setting up everything that will happen in future games is just so cool, as well as just obviously the feeling of when the sky changes and it's the same in Diamond and Pearl. Just so many connections and things that bring you back. And if you look around the world as well, there's so many different lore aspects that just bring you back to the story, and it's just like, wow, like, just this is cool, bro. Like, you can see how this sets up Sinnoh, you can see how this sets up, and I think that's what made this game so amazing for me personally, was just, wow, this just sets up so much. Or even at the start of the game, because technically you are a time traveler in this game, you able to capture Pokemon, and then eventually you end up meeting up with another Pokemon trainer that also kind of came from the future who disappeared, and just multiple other things in the game. It was just amazing. It really was just an amazing thing, and I have to give Pokemon, I have to give Game Freak in the Pokemon Company for what they allowed them essentially to do with this game. Like, yo, I gotta give them a little bit of props. Like, damn, like, it was just really awesome. I just could not say that enough. It really was awesome. But anyway, after this point, I'm not going to try to talk too much about spoilers, so we're going to be moving on from spoilers from here on, so this will probably be the end of the timestamp, as you guys can see. But yeah, the story in this game is definitely one to be remembered. It does have little replayability, that's what I meant to say. It does have a little bit less replayability, I think, than other Pokemon games do because of the way how it's structured. But for a first-time experience, especially going in blind, it is an amazing experience. I definitely have to say it's an amazing game for that, like, singular playthrough or for, like, a 100% completion. I think it definitely, by far, is the best Pokemon game in years in that aspect. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, the second thing, was the actual gameplay. Now, catching Pokemon in this game was actually made fun. One thing I was really concerned about was the way that catching Pokemon in this game was going to be portrayed would be very repetitive and boring. Luckily enough, they decided not to do that. They give you options to catch Pokemon, and you do get benefits from running around and just catching every Pokemon and discovering new Pokemon for the first time in certain locations, especially really early on in the game, is extremely exciting. And, being able to see them walk around, them attack you, or them running away from you. Either way, just the different reactions you can have, it really does, with the different interactions they have, give you a lot more options, because sneaking around is kind of fun. The fact that different Pokeballs have different weights, and so you have to actually, like, strategize kind of what Pokeball you want to use at this time, and using normal Pokeballs isn't just always going to be the go-to answer. Eventually it does kind of get that way with Ultra Balls, but, kind of, it is what it is. That's just how Pokemon is. But yeah, no, catching Pokemon was actually made fun, and I definitely have to highlight that part of the gameplay aspect, even though the more you do play the game, in which, yet again, I've spent over, I think, 48 hours in the game, something like that. I do have to say, even though you have been able to chuck Pokeballs and do all this other stuff, interactive stuff, it does get a little bit repetitive. It does, but I feel like it never gets to a point of being repetitive enough to where you want to put it down and be like, I just cannot play this game anymore. It gets repetitive to the point where you're like, okay, do I want to do this, or can I come back later for this? And I think that's a good balance. I think it's enough to where you're always going to keep the player entertained, but you're also not going to keep it enough to where they're not going to be able to want to just put your game down and stop playing. So I think that's great. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the Pokemon locations for positives. A lot of these Pokemon locations are pretty good. I think a lot of them make sense. They're spread out throughout the region to where you can kind of tell where they're going to be in Diamond and Pearl. Now, some of them are very close to each other. I do have to say that. It does feel like the region's a little bit enclosed, and like Pokemon are always constantly around each other. It does feel like that, which I feel like is a bit weird. I do think there should be some spaces, surprisingly enough, because I know one of the biggest problems people were saying they were going to have with this game was the fact that a lot of people would be in empty spaces. The game would be empty. There wouldn't be anything. And there's Pokemon everywhere, but I feel like sometimes they're too close to each other to where you're pissing off multiple Pokemon at once. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the cons. But yeah, no, the Pokemon locations themselves are in really interesting places. You actually have some incentive to explore. And there's some areas in the game where, I thought like, oh, this isn't going to be reachable. But it was reachable. But there's plenty of other areas in the game as well where you're also kind of like, this should be reachable, and it wasn't reachable. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and the Pokemon locations were pretty good. They were interesting enough to where I think getting a lot of the rare Pokemon and stuff like that was really cool to see. Character customization is back in this game as well for another pro. Definitely was cool. It could have had more options, but overall it was a lot better than BDSP. I had to give it that. It does have a lot of different options that you can mix and match, but it does end up being where a lot of the time it is just the same outfits but with different colors, instead of being actually unique outfits. But overall, I think the outfits that they do have in the game are really, really nice, as well as also later on you can get the Diamond and Pearl clans clothes, as well as I think you can get some other trainers clothes as well. And that's great. You can also get like the legendary kimonos as well, I believe, where you can get like different like legendary themed kimonos and things like that. So it's really cool. It's really cool. Like I do have to say, character customization is a huge plus. I do wish there was a little bit more hairstyles in the game, because I have to say, like, I played with the same hairstyle ever since the start of the game, essentially. I didn't stay with the starter one. I played with the braids, but I like changed it. But like I never wanted to change it after that personally. But that could just be a me thing. Some people could have been changing their character, the color of their hair, the color of their eyes, or color of their eyebrows, whatever it is, like constantly. I just didn't. I just kind of kept it as like one thing and changed my clothes occasionally. So yeah, you could have done that as well. But yeah, no, character customization was definitely a pro. Definitely was a lot better than BDSP, and it could have been better, but it was definitely still enough to where you could make yourself unique enough to where you definitely wanted to try seeing like, hey, if I get this character customization, what can I get by doing these quests for this person or whatever. So it was really cool. And then the last big pro that I'm going to be talking about in this video is going to be the atmosphere of the game. Now, the atmosphere of the game is phenomenal. You constantly feel like you're going to be killed or essentially knocked out, because in this game they say you fainted, you run away, but in Roxy, dang, where could be killed. It feels like everyone wants to just throw you to the side. And then the way how you when you're like soaring with bravery and you can just see all these Pokemon, these lands. And then I think one of the coolest atmospheres in the entire game, besides Spear Pillar itself, because Spear Pillar is really, really cool. Although I will have to say the way you get up there is a little bit weird, but Spear Pillar itself is really cool. But probably the best atmosphere area in the game completely is freaking Snowpoint Temple. Oh my god. I love that. Snowpoint Temple was done beautifully in Legends Arceus. It has amazing boss battles against the partner of Bravery. Which I'm having a hard time remembering her name right now. You guys will probably see some gameplay on screen of the character I'm thinking about, whatever. But dude, like, that fight was really cool to have, and then to be able to do like the Reggie puzzles where you were literally looking at the elements. Now, they were easy puzzles, obviously. They weren't hard puzzles, but to just feel the atmosphere of like the Bronzors that were in there or whatever, and then feel the atmosphere where you could see like Reggie Gigas's room kind of near the start, where you can kind of like tell it's Reggie Gigas's room just by looking at the door and seeing like a little Reggie Gigas face and everything. Oh my god, bro, I was dying. And the way you get up to it, we had to like climb, either you climb the mountain or you go through like the side pathway to get up to it, and it's just standing there beautifully, and then you can get to the top of it and you could just walk up all the way to the top. Dude, everything about that area is freaking incredible. And I have to say, there's so many other things in the game that are like that. So the atmosphere of the game, especially if you're a Gen 4 fan, is so awesome. Now, some places are a little bit less recognizable than others, like where Eterna Forest should be. I didn't even realize Eterna Forest was really supposed to be there until I heard the theme. I was like, this doesn't really feel like Eterna Forest. So there was some areas that were like that. The Old Chateau also wasn't in the game, surprisingly. I really thought that Old Chateau was going to show up. It wasn't. So I guess that comes later on in the storyline or whatever. Not in the actual game, but in, Pokemon lore. So I was like, that was kind of surprising that wasn't there. But overall, dude, just the atmosphere of everything around you, the atmosphere of the characters, how they speak to you, how you battle, how you interact by doing side quests, which is so much fun, by the way. The fact you can like grow your village and you can like kind of like grow out this farming thing where you can get like extra, either apricorns, flowers, different types of things like that where you can grow all this stuff. So many different things that were added that I'm just like, this should be in modern Pokemon. Why is this not a modern Pokemon? Like, oh my god, like, it would just be so amazing if this was a modern Pokemon. But just dang, bro, like, it was just so amazing, and I just had to give it his props that, yes, this was freaking incredible. But yeah, no, those were definitely all the pros for Legends Arceus, and I just gotta say, those aren't even all of them. For some people, there's a lot other ones like shiny hunting and how easy they made it in this game. I've literally never caught as many shiny Pokemon in any Pokemon game until this game, because of just how they changed odds and how many different things you could do to increase your odds to be able to get higher rated shiny Pokemon, which is so cool. Obviously the raid like Overcast or whatever it is, where like a bunch of Pokemon will come in, all that. Obviously the space-time distortions that show up where you can get a bunch of rare Pokemon, including the starters, not only the traditional Sinnoh starters, but also the starters that you get for this game, which were different. And then they have their Hisuian evolutions, which also look freaking amazing. So many positives to playing this game. But that isn't really what you guys came here for to hear. Mostly, you guys probably came here to hear what was wrong with the game. And so now I'm going to go ahead and just straight up just tell you guys everything that I feel like that was wrong with this game. Well, this game went a little bit off the rails, but definitely still is an amazing game, and it's definitely one I'd recommend you to go play. If you have not, especially if you're going in blind, just go play it. Go play it. It's fun. It's amazing. But here's where it really starts getting messed up. So first off, yet again, like I said earlier, the game gets repetitive. Yes, catching Pokemon and finding them for the first few hours of the game is freaking exciting. It's fun, especially when you're unlocking newer Pokeballs, because you have different things that you can catch them with. But eventually, once you have like Ultra Balls and things like that, where you can just essentially get whatever you wanted, it was kind of like, what incentive do I have to do this besides completing the Pokedex? Like, why should I do this besides completing the Pokedex? I don't really care about doing this besides completing the Pokedex. Yes, it is cool to see Munchlax running around. Cool, it's cool to see Pichu running around. Oh, cool, it's cool that I found an Empoleon here or whatever. But it's like, eventually it gets to the point where you're just like, dang, well, I guess I gotta catch him for the Pokedex. Like, that's really just how it is with this game. And it's like, yeah, it can get repetitive. And so yet again, you can take smaller breaks in between playing, and I think that will definitely soothe that little issue there. But that's really a per person thing, because some people might be like, well, I didn't feel like it was repetitive, and I've seen some people say that they didn't feel like it was repetitive. I felt like it was a little bit repetitive after a while, but I spent over 40 hours in the game, and I've seen people spend more and say not. So it's really a per person thing, but do be warned that yes, the entire game, not the entire game, a decent portion of the game is catching Pokemon. So if you do end up being like, well, eventually after a while, once you discover all the balls, you discover everything you have, if that ends up getting repetitive, just be a little bit warned of that. Yes, it is going to get repetitive. Another thing was not having abilities. Abilities were not present in this game for each Pokemon. If you guys don't already know, every single Pokemon has an individual ability that will essentially give them like a special, unique trait that they have in battle, such as Gengar. Gengar is my biggest example. and why I didn't really like this feature. Because Gengar has an ability known as Levitate. With Levitate, Gengar cannot be hit by ground type moves. Gengar is a ghost poison type, meaning that he is 2 times weak to ground. So having the Levitate ability makes it where he can be hit by ground types, essentially giving away his weakness, or one of his weaknesses, right? So it's a really good ability because you can surprise ground types and still use a Gengar to fight ground types. And in this game, there's no abilities, so he doesn't get that ability. So he still gets hit by ground types, and he still ends up dying very quickly. Now, this is a double-edged sword because there is some Pokemon in the game that you are forced to fight that also have broken abilities. So I'm like, if I had to fight these Pokemon in a normal Pokemon game, this part would have probably been twice as hard because overall, Pokemon Legends Arceus is a lot harder of a Pokemon game than most average Pokemon games. You can be over-leveled and still have your Pokemon get like 2 or 3 tapped. I'm not even kidding with you. It's like over-leveling in this game, while it does help you on fighting the most basic of basic Pokemon or taking attacks, lower level Pokemon have been buffed a lot in this game. And so to have certain abilities in the game, it would be kind of detrimental because you'd be like, damn, this feels like I'm fighting a really competitive team all the time. And while, I myself and probably a couple other Pokemon fans would love to have that type of level of, difficulty and complexity within playing this Pokemon game, most casual fans and everything aren't going to really want that. So I could definitely see why some abilities were removed. But some Pokemon really do need them. I think Gengar was the biggest example. Gengar is a pretty fast mon, not extremely fast, but he's pretty fast overall, but I still found myself constantly being taken out when I really should have. If I just had Levitate, it would have been completely fine. And that's not even just by ground type Pokemon, that's with just any Pokemon that knows a ground type move. It could be a grass type Pokemon or a water type Pokemon, and it knows a ground type move, boom, Gengar's dead. And I'm just like, well, dang, if he had Levitate, this wouldn't have been a problem. And it's like that for a lot of other Pokemon in the game, where I'm just like, if he just had an ability, he would be so much better. Because I genuinely tried using Gengar on my team. After a while, I just couldn't because of how many Pokemon knew ground-type moves that would just destroy him. And I'm just like, damn, like, I really want to use Gengar, but, like, I really don't want to have to constantly be having him die and then try to revive him, especially because, like, you have to spend money to be able to get revives, or you have to, like, go grind up to be able to create them. So I'm like, I really don't feel like doing that all the time. And I don't feel like going back to healing spots all the time. So it's just like, like, that's a double-edged sword, like I said earlier. So it's like, not having abilities, for some people it's not going to matter, for some people it will. It really counts in more about how you set up your team, how you would, because the game kind of incentivizes you have more of a bulky, straight-up attacking team, kind of like a Gen 1 meta type team, which is kind of weird, but it's like, yeah, I guess, like, you can set up certain things and do certain challenges and things like that with it, so it is kind of cool that not having abilities is there, but like I said, double-edged sword, so just remember that. After that, we're going to talk about Pokemon aggressiveness, and what you guys might be saying, like, oh, what do you mean by Pokemon aggressiveness? Well, certain Pokemon in the game are shy, certain Pokemon in the game are aggressive, as in they will attack you, and then some of them are more of a dopey / calm nature, where they'll just walk up to you, and they won't even attack you. They'll just be like, hey, what's up, Pokemon like that are like Bidoof and Spheal. They'll just walk up to you, and then you could just chuck a Pokeball in their face and catch them, because they're just nice level Pokemon like that, right? But for the most one is that it was like, for some Pokemon it fit, right? Like Shinx is an aggressive Pokemon. Well, it's a little cat Pokemon. Of course it's going to be aggressive, right? It's going to want to attack me. But there was some Pokemon that just did not make sense with their aggressiveness, like Psyduck. Psyduck was an aggressive Pokemon. Have you seen Psyduck? It's a mentally weird, messed up duck that's cute. Why is this thing hitting me with Water Pulse? Why is this thing doing that? And I understand that, yet again, yeah, they would do that in the video game, but they did that in the video, or not in the video game, but like in the normal Pokemon games, the modern Pokemon games is what I should say. I understand they did that then, but they didn't always have to try to blast you and like do all that stuff. I'm like, when all these other Pokemon don't have to do that, because like if Seal does that, Bidoof does that in the normal games, but they're not attacking me there. Why the heck is Psyduck attacking me? Like, why is he freaking aggressive? Why is Cascoon? Why is Silcoon aggressive? I'm like, they're cocoons. Like, they should be trying to run away from me, or maybe they should try to like have like, I don't know, maybe a trap system where like if I'm in a tree or something, they'll jump out of a tree or something. Not where I just run up to them and then they start attacking me. Like there's certain ones that just aren't right, and there's some for the other ones as well. There's some Pokemon that are shy that definitely should not be shy. And there's some Pokemon that are dopey. There's not really that many Pokemon that are dopey or like chill that shouldn't be chill. A lot of the ones that are chill should be chill, but there should be a lot more chill ones. There should also be a lot more shy ones, in my personal opinion. It's just some Pokemon just aren't correct, but I think the biggest instance that I had of it was definitely the Psyduck one. It was definitely the Cascoon and Silcoon one, where they were aggressive. for no reason, and I think those were like three of the biggest ones, honestly. I think Beautifly was also like hecka aggressive, even though I think Beautifly should have been more of a hit once, run away type Pokemon, where like it'll hit you once and then run away. Like it shouldn't be a Pokemon where it's like, oh, it'll just start straight up attacking you. Like it's just certain Pokemon just didn't fit their like aggressiveness and or nature. And so I was just like, yeah, those definitely need to be corrected for future Legends games and definitely fixed in certain areas. So yeah, definitely, yeah, they need to work on that a little bit. After that, we're going to be talking about Spiritomb. Now, if you guys don't know how Spiritomb works in this game, it's kind of stupid. There's essentially all these wisps spread out around the maps. They appear at different times of day as well, so you'll have, like, we'll say, like, 30 wisps in one map, and you'll be like, oh, so some of them spawn during the day, some of them spawn during night, and they spawn all throughout the entire map, so you have to go find them all, and once you find all of them, that's when you essentially unlock the ability to see Spiritomb in the wild, as well as catch a Spiritomb. This is stupid. I just gotta say, this is literally nothing more than a fetch quest that was unnecessary, because they perfect the ability, the same exact ability way to do this. They essentially perfected, is what I mean to say. They perfected the ability of having this type of, like, where you had to, like, get multiple Pokemon with Unknown. So the way how Unknown works in this game is if you see an Unknown in the wild, you'll see them randomly attached to something, right? It'll be a random letter Unknown. You could chuck a Pokeball at it, catch it, boom, you have that letter Unknown, right? You don't need every single Unknown to finish Unknown tasks, and you can still actually catch an Unknown in the wild, but just have to slowly capture all of them. When you capture all of them, you have the ability to then capture a shiny Unknown. So once you capture every single letter of Unknown, you can capture the shiny version of Unknown. So if you wanted to get a shiny Pokemon, or like have a full shiny dex or whatever, you have to go get every single Unknown. Spiritomb should have been the exact same way. I do not know why in the hell they decided to put Spiritombs, these little wisps, around for this little fetch quest thing. Because yes, they did try to vary up the gameplay, so you go look for stuff, you go explore and everything else. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that it gets really annoying when you start getting to the end of the Pokedex and you be like, dang, now I have to go through every single map in the game just to be able to collect these wisps for a Pokemon that could have been handled just like Unknown, where I could have just thrown a Pokeball, caught it at the start, and then be like, okay, well, there's one wisp here, and if I catch every single different Spiritomb with a wisp, oh, then I can catch a shiny, or I can catch this in like a hurdle of Spiritombs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they perfected the formula with Unknown. I don't know why they switched it up for Spiritomb besides trying to vary the gameplay, but even varying the gameplay gets really annoying because you need 100% Pokedex to be able to catch Arceus, which is an endgame thing. And no offense, I really don't feel like going around and just looking for these wisps, especially since they don't all spawn at the same time. They spawn during different times of the day, so sometimes you'd be like, well, damn, where is this last wisp, without having to look it up and everything else. So it's just like, it's annoying, it's unnecessary. They should have just done what they did with Unknown with Spiritomb. I don't know why they didn't do that. But yeah, no, Spiritomb is definitely probably like one of the worst parts of this game. I did not like the way how they did it. I just did not like how they did it. Next thing is problem is going to be shy Pokemon running away from you instantly. So this wasn't a problem because when you actually see shy Pokemon, you could throw a Pokeball at them while they're running away. You could throw your own Pokeball at them, and while they're running away, you could hit them and initiate a battle. They will run away turn one without you being able to do anything. You can't even throw a Pokeball, anything. This is a problem for shiny Pokemon. This has happened to me where I got a shiny Starly at the very start of the game. I threw a Pokeball at it. It broke out. It started running away from me. I threw my Pokemon at it. I got into a fight with it. And this happened within, like, I'm not even kidding, the first 30 minutes of me playing the game. It just ran away and then flew away from me. And I didn't even get a chance to catch it. And I'm like, this is kind of unfair because what do you do when you get shiny Pokemon and stuff like that where you don't have a chance to find cover? You don't have a chance to, try to lure it out with the berry. You don't have chances to do that. Like I was literally like walking down a hill and it just spawned in front of me. There was literally nothing around me that I could have done besides what I did, and I still lost a shiny for that. So for them to be able to just, when you initiate a battle, be able to run away turn one, is problematic because it instantly is like, oh, if you get a shiny Pokemon, this is mostly for shinies. This is mostly a problem for shinies. And because this actually happened to me during my gameplay with it, if you do get a shiny Pokemon, especially with extremely low odds, because I hadn't finished Starly's tasks at that point, they can just run away from you. And it's so infuriating that it's like, this is bad game design because it's like, it literally is just like, well, dang, even though you initiated a battle, the thing run away. I understand if you're talking about, oh, it runs away where you're trying to catch it in the overworld and you're not trying to catch it in a battle. But once you initiate a battle, you should at least wait like maybe a turn or two before it runs away, just so you have at least a chance to catch it, especially if it's shiny. because I did feel like that was a little bit unfair. They was like, oh, okay, I got a shiny Pokemon, cool. Oh, I initiate a battle with it, cool. I'll just battle it and then catch it. Boom, it instantly runs away, turn 1, and flies away, and then I lose a shiny, and I'm like, well, dang, I didn't even get a chance. I didn't even get a thing to be able to try to catch that Pokemon. Like, that's so unfair, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, whatever. I guess that's really just luck-based, but yeah. So, the final con we're talking about is just underdeveloped features. There was a couple of underdeveloped features within the game. I think one of the biggest ones was definitely the flying. Because in this, you didn't really fly, you glide. You would use a glider, right? You would use Bravely as a glider. But I think one of the hardest things to do was no sky battles. You cannot fight flying Pokemon at all. So you'll see flying Pokemon around the map where you'll get these things known as sky balls. I believe that's what they're called. They're like called sky balls or feather balls. I think it's like that. I think they're called feather balls actually. Where they're these straight line Pokeballs that you could throw in the air and they get launched at an exact trajectory, right? And these flying Pokemon will hover around in different formations. Some of them in a circle, some of them in like a figure 8. They'll do that, right? So essentially you have to aim at them and then you have to throw the Pokeball to try to catch them. Problem is, most of the feather balls are really freaking weak. Even the ones that you can get at the very end, the highest, like the third ranking, the highest feather ball you could possibly get, is still pretty weak compared to just using an Ultra Ball or something like that. And you can't really reach these Pokemon by gliding or getting them to a higher area. You have to essentially use these feather balls to catch them. Why is there no sky battles in the game? It's like that whole mechanic was like, oh, that's cool. Or maybe even if I could use the feather balls while using Bravery as a glider, because you can actually throw Pokeballs on the back of Basculin. You cannot do that on the back of, or underneath Bravery, which does not make sense to me. It's just like a lot of this should have been checked. Other underdeveloped features was definitely like, there was definitely like a really bad camera feature where it was like the camera feature was kind of underdeveloped because you could like put your Pokemon in a couple of poses and then you could put yourself in a couple of poses and you had like a color background. Like they should have done more with that. Like I said, it should probably give you a few more character customization options as well besides the same stuff with just different colors. Definitely should have given you a bit more, but I'm not too mad about that. I think that's overall okay. Like, I definitely think the aggressiveness of Pokemon could have been better. I think they could have added more stuff with that as well, like I said. And it's just a couple of other things. There's some underdeveloped things, but it's not underdeveloped enough where it feels like Sword and Shield. It definitely feels like it's a complete game. It just feels like if they had more time, they could have done more. And I really feel like that's what really depicts Legends Arceus for being a good game compared to being a bad game, is that it's like everything's there for the good game. It's just like if they just had a little bit more time, it could have been a amazing game. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. So for this final segment of the video, we're going to go ahead and talk about this final segment of the video because I've been talking to you guys for a while. I think this is like a 30-minute video or something like that. We're going to be talking a little bit about Gen 9 and the future of these Legends games. And overall, what could improve from Legends Arceus, besides what I've already said, that's going to end up helping these games either be really great or really, really bad. So I want to go ahead and just start off talking about future Legends games. I do think future Legends games could happen, but it's also realistically up to Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. We really thought future Let's Go games were going to happen, and so far that has not happened. Now, that's not guaranteed to say that they're not going to happen in the future. It's just maybe. It's always a possibility. I would love to see a Legends Unova game. I really want a Legends Unova game, even though I definitely do not want a black and white remake like Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. I think that would be horrible. Please do not do that. Please give us an actual remake, but I would still love a Legends game besides that if possible. Be great. And I think that overall, just the thing that this game's need is just more interactions with Pokemon, more aggressiveness, more natures, and then more updated abilities and things like that. Like, I think definitely a lot of the problems that this game has, if they just worked a little bit more on balance, continue to make it just as hard as it was, but just maybe make it to where it would be a little bit easier for casual players to get into as well, but just not make it busted, which is asking a lot, counting on the time strains that, you know, the Pokemon Company and Game Freak has to be able to, you know, release these games, the animes and things like that. So, you know, it's a little bit much to ask for future Legends games, but I definitely do want more interactions with the Pokemon, more things with the world, more NPCs, and I think maybe a little bit more of a focus on trainer battles, because I think trainer battles in this game are really fun, especially with the new combat system that was added. I think just overall that would be a lot better. But moving on to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, otherwise known as Gen 9. I think I've been saying Gen 8 throughout this entire video. If I have, I meant Gen 9. But yeah, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, from what we have seen of the game, I think the game looks great. I think it literally looks just like better Legends Arceus, and I hope that for future Legends games as well, for that game, it just continues to look better and better and run better with each trailer and everything else that we're going to be shown in the future. I definitely got to go ahead and state that every single thing that I think is a positive of Legends Arceus won't be in Gen 9. I think Gen 9 is going to go back to a more traditional Pokemon style. I don't think Pokemon are going to attack you in the wild. I don't. As unfortunate as it is, I don't think we still might have the same catching system where you can catch them in the overworld. I think that might stay, hopefully. But yeah, no, the region looks great. It's going to be fully open world, so I cannot wait to see what they do with that and where we can go, where we can do, like, just so, like, how that's all set up. I can't wait for all that. The new Pokemon that are going to be introduced are going to be freaking incredible, and I just gotta say, like, I didn't make a review video or anything over Gen 9 because I thought that it would be oversaturated, but I think everything that was a problem with Legends Arceus is definitely not going to be in Gen 9, hopefully, and I think that this, especially if Game Freak takes hints from the story that they put in Legends Arceus and improves upon it in Gen 9 will be the best Pokemon game story-wise. I think easily it will be. So yeah, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are looking freaking incredible. You guys can let me know down in the comment section below, hey, who are you picking as your starter for those games? I just want to go ahead and say that I love all three of them. I think all three of them are really, really awesome. Although Fuecoco kind of is my least favorite, but I do love his name. His name is freaking incredible, but I'm definitely going to be going with Quaxley, I think is his name. Quaxley, yeah, his name's Quaxley. He's definitely like my boy right now. Like, I love him, unless his evolution's butcher like Sobble. But yeah, no, he's definitely like my opinion. So yeah, that's really all my opinions on Pokemon Legends Arceus, as well as the future of the Pokemon games with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, as well as future Legends games. So yeah, Pokemon Legends Arceus was a good game, but it did have problems. So hopefully you all really enjoyed that video. Remember to go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Also hit the like button. We're on the way to 1K, as well as also just likes are appreciated, bro. I love seeing you guys. Also remember, guys, comment down below what you guys love about Pokemon Legends Arceus, as well as which starter you're planning to pick in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So yeah, that's going to be it from me, guys. Hopefully you all really enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.